We are ready. I think what we'll do is begin our board meeting.
Hold on one second.
And,
Hold on one second. We gotta just start our recorder.
okay. Okay, now we can open our board meeting. And apparently the state of California has invested in a gavel. So this is going to be a fancy meeting today.
Very old gavel.
Very old, it's close enough. It doesn't matter as we're going to use it. All right, let's begin with a roll call of the board members to establish a quorum. And I'll ask Marcine to call the roll.
Okay, Steve Weeks,
Present.
Melanie Pham,
Present.
Becky Crabtree,
Present.
Megan Ellis,
Present.
Tanya Fairley,
Present.
Reese Isbell,
Present.
Yolanda Jimenez,
Present.
and Derek Matos.
Present.
Thank you, all present.
And we have a quorum, so that's very good. Thank you, everyone. And let's now move to the reinstatement hearing in the matter of Francisco Limas. And I'll have our administrative judge, Harry Sawyer, take over, and we'll go into a closed session for the hearing. After the hearing.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Is the court reporter ready?
Yes, could I just remind everybody to use their microphones, please? Thank you.
Good reminder. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Are you ready, Mr. Limas?
Yes, I am.
Great. All right, then let's go on the record. I am calling the matter of the petition for reinstatement filed by Francisco Limas. This is before the Board of Barbering and Cosmetology, which is within the Department of Consumer Affairs. Today is April 25th, 2022. My name is Drc Sawyer. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearing, State of California. I'm presiding over this hearing, and I'm with not only a quorum of the board, but the board in its entirety, which is great. All the members are present. This matter is being heard in Burbank, California, and this matter bears OAH case number 2022-040378. At this time, I would like the parties to introduce themselves to the board, beginning with the petitioner. Would you tell us who you are?
I'm Francisco Lemos.
Good morning.
Morning.
And on behalf of the Attorney General of the State of California,
Good morning, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Kevin Sheddig, appearing on behalf of the people of the State of California pursuant to Business and Professions Code Section 7303.1 and Government Code Section 11522.
okay, good morning, Mr. Sheddig. Would you like to start the hearing off with the summary of the case and the introduction and offering of the petition and relevant documents?
Sure. Thank you, Your Honor. We're here on Petitioner's petition for reinstatement of his license, a second petition for reinstatement. And I'll go through first here with the documents that we've got identified as Exhibit 1, which I'd like to mark for identification and offer into evidence. It consists of the following. There is a case summary at the outset, followed by a petition for reinstatement of revoked license, dated December 6, 2021. Followed by a board status of citation payment letter dated September 9th, 2019. And some character reference letters, beginning with a letter from Cheryl Williams, dated November 18th, 2021. A letter from Art Aguirre, dated November 16th, 2021. A letter from Rosie Torres, dated September 23rd, 2019. And a letter from Luis Reyes, dated September 23rd, 2019. Next, we have the license certification for petitioner's establishment license and his barber license. That is followed by some jurisdictional documents of the underlying disciplinary matter in the accusation against Francisco Limas doing business as Pancholin Barbershop and Francisco Limas, consisting of the order granting a stay of execution of the default. The default that was issued by the board dated August 15th, 2018, and a copy of the accusation. Following that, there is a hearing confirmation form signed by Mr. Limas dated April 7th, 2022. And we have also added a copy of the decision on the prior petition for reinstatement matter bearing board case number PR 2020-7872, OAH case number 2020-050054. At this time, I'd like to ask Your Honor to admit Exhibit 1 into evidence.
All right, these documents previously described are collectively marked as Exhibit 1. Mr. Limas, do you have any objection to this being admitted into evidence, meaning the board can review and rely on all these documents in making its deliberation?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes, I do.
You
That's
don't-
fine with me, yeah. You guys-
Okay,
yeah.
all right. No objection being made. Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And now, just to briefly run through the history of the case in summary. On March 17th, 2009, the board issued barber license number B85000 to petitioner. 5 years later, on March 11th, 2014, the board issued establishment license number A290654 to Francisco Limas, doing business as Pancholin Barbershop. Then, on or about January 11, 2018, pursuant to an investigation of the petitioner's establishment, a board representative found the petitioner employed 2 unlicensed persons to perform services on patrons in violation of the Barbering and Cosmetology Act. The investigation on January 11, 2018 constituted a 3rd offense of employing unlicensed persons. The board representative also found violations relating to management and storage of tools, equipment, and disinfectants. An accusation was filed on May 8, 2018 based on those violations and included disciplinary considerations regarding the other similar violations which had resulted in administrative citations issued against the respondent. First of those was on June 13th, 2017. At that time, an inspection of the establishment by a board representative had revealed that petitioner hired 3 unlicensed persons in violation of Code Section 7349 and other violations relating to management and storage of tools, equipment, and disinfectants. As a result of that first offense, a citation was issued in the amount of $1,350. Then on September 15th, 2017, a $1,000 citation was issued to petitioner on a second violation for employing 2 unlicensed persons in violation of Code Section 7349. Now, petitioner failed to timely file a notice of defense to that accusation, and ultimately a default was issued pursuant to the board's authority under Government Code Section 11520. On or about August 21st, 2018, the petitioner filed a motion to vacate and set aside that default. On August 24th, 2018, the board considered and denied the motion, and the petitioner's barber license and establishment license were each revoked. On or about September 30th, 2019, the petitioner submitted his first petition for reinstatement of his revoked barber license. The hearing was brought on June 9th, 2020, and on July 24th, 2020, the petition for reinstatement was denied. And a copy of that decision is now included at the back of our packet. Respondent now appears for a second time for reinstatement of his revoked barber license. There's no balance due on the citation that was issued, the citations that were issued, excuse me. However, there remains a balance of $620 for the cost of enforcement on the prior accusation. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shedding. Mr. Limas, are you ready to speak before the board?
Yeah.
Okay, let me swear you in and then we'll get started. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California that in this hearing you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And for the record, would you please state and spell your name?
Francisco Lemus.
How do you spell that?
Francisco. Francisco. Lemus is Lemus. Lemus.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. But at this point, it's just want to go back to my craft. I know I made a lot of mistakes, trying to help people out, you know, hiring unlicensed barbers, trying to get them to get apprenticed. You know, it's hard with this new generation. It's hard to make them learn, how to make them tough to make good decisions in life, you know. And I tried, you know, and I failed, and I take fully responsibility for allowing them to work there. And at this point, I just want to go back to doing what I do. You know, I drive by these barbershops all the time, and all these tattoos, they're all barber tattoos. So it's like I pour concrete, I do flooring, been doing construction, and it's hard labor, you know. It's paying the bills, but it's not me. You know, I just want to go back to what I was doing. I mean, at this point, I don't plan to open up a barbershop, and I just want to go back to the air, working with somebody, you know, and just go back to my craft pretty much, you know. And I learned my lesson, and I give advice when I go get haircuts at barbershops. I see some of these guys, and they're like, "Hey man, is he licensed?" And they tell me nah, and I tell them, you know, don't do it, bro. It's not even worth it. You know, them $150, $200 giving you a week, it's not even worth it. They're gonna shut you down, bro. I learned my lesson. You know, take that advice from me, and pretty much I just want to see if I get reinstated. You know, that's what I'm here for today. I know I'm not perfect, but just want my barber license back, pretty much. You know, that's about it.
Okay, thank you. We'll open the floor to questions. We'll start with the Deputy Attorney General first, when you're ready, if you have any.
I do, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Mr. Lemus, if you could turn in your packet there to about the third or fourth page here, the petition for reinstatement.
Sure.
Yes, sorry. You prepared that application, the petition for reinstatement, correct?
Yes, I did.
And it's dated December 6th, 2021?
Yes.
Is that your signature there at the bottom?
Yes, my signature.
Now, in question number 1 on the section G, so page 2 of the application, are you with me there?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Question 1, you indicate that you've been convicted or pled no contest in the past.
Yes, I have. I have a few convictions of DUIs, and a while back I got convicted for having access to a firearm, sir. A registered firearm. I got convicted for having access. My past came back and haunted me when I made some decisions when I was young. I actually got convicted for back in 2010 for having possession of a firearm, and this time I caught a new one for having access to a registered firearm, which I wasn't too sure about the laws. It was registered to my brother, and it was in the business. So when they came in, I told them that I was just trying to be a lawful citizen. I told them that we did have a registered firearm, but we didn't carry it around, or It was there to protect the business, and it was registered to my brother, which he worked there at the barbershop with me. So I got charged for that, for having access to it. You know.
Okay, now I want to take it one by one. So if you can go through, starting with the oldest and go forward and tell me each conviction or instance when you pled no contest.
I believe the first one was in 2010. That one was for having a possession of a firearm, and this one was in 2018 that I got convicted for the possession of for having access to a registered firearm. And the DUI cases, it's been a few, sir, but it's been all cleared up. I finished my programs and did everything that the court asked me to.
What was the date of the DUI conviction?
The DUIs was 2012, 2014. Sir.
Are you referencing two separate convictions?
Yes, sir.
And beginning with the first conviction that you mentioned, was that a felony conviction or misdemeanor?
Misdemeanor, sir.
Were any of your convictions felony convictions?
They turned into misdemeanors, sir. They actually, I got very lucky that he charged me with a felony. But they were felonies, but they dropped down to misdemeanors.
Okay. And what are the status of each of those? Are any of those still pending? Do you still owe restitution? Have you satisfied the court obligations on all your convictions?
I have, sir. My restitution has been paid in full. I'm still on a probation for 5 years. It terminates, I believe, in August of this year, and my restitution's been paid in full.
In the probation, what conviction does that refer to?
For the having access to the registered firearm. For the DUI, I had completed all the probation for that.
Was anyone harmed, injured in the DUI?
No, sir. Exactly.
In either DUI, I should say?
No, none.
And what was your breathalyzer result?
I'll be honest with you, sir. I'll be lying to you if I tell you a number. You know, they do tell you your blood level, but sometimes your mind's just going in all that type of directions. You know, I mean, you know, you're gonna get a sentence for DUI, so you know you get all these paperwork, all these fines, and more programs and MAD programs, and you just focus on what you need to take care of. I didn't really record, you know, me to have exactly the alcohol level, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And both DUIs were based on alcohol consumption?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you still drink alcohol?
I don't, sir. Be honest with you, like I'll be lying. There's once in a while I might have a drink, but I try not to get like I used to. I try to stay away from it. It runs in my family, so I'm not a weekend drinker or a party drinker. Every blue moon, maybe a New Year's or like a hot summer, I might have a few beers, but I try not to get to that lifestyle again.
Okay. And the application here, it asks that you attach all of those court documents and provide the details and explanations of the offenses, but you didn't provide any of those. Why is that?
I submitted all the paperwork to the court, sir. I really didn't have it in order to provide it, you know, for you guys. It was all submitted when I completed it. So pretty much I'm not gonna say I was unresponsible from it's like a receipt, you know. Sometimes you know you paid something and sometimes you just toss the receipt. Like when you buy a TV or something, you know that TV came out good and you know that's paid in full. So I didn't keep the receipts once I submitted everything to the courts, and it was completed. I have like a little drawer where I keep all my paperwork, sir. But at the time, I didn't think of getting it together. Since it was completed, I figured I'll be fine, you know, as far as that end. But,
Okay, but you understand that information is important to the board's decision here today, do you not?
no, yeah, now I'm seeing that, which I should have provided. I'm sorry.
Okay, and I'm looking at question 4 here in the same section regarding whether you have any current criminal charges pending against you, and there's no answer provided by you here. Can you answer that for us today and explain if, whether you have any criminal charges pending?
I don't, I'm sorry, I didn't fill that out, but I don't have none.
Okay. Do you have any civil lawsuits pending against you?
No, sir.
Now I want to turn to your employment. Can you tell me where you're currently employed?
I've been doing flooring for Carpet USA, but it's been getting a little tough. Well, it was getting a little tough with the pandemic, so I started pouring concrete with one of my friends. He has a concrete company, and he gives me side jobs. He gives me 2 or 3 days per week, and my friend calls me for flooring too when they need extra help. That's where I've been getting my money from pretty much.
And where are you performing that work?
Well, he's pretty much does commercial buildings and residential.
And what's the location?
Well, he's pretty much everywhere where the contract, sometimes we have work for a week or two, maybe a month, sometimes 2 days, 3 days. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, what was the name of the company?
Carpet USA.
Okay. When did you start there?
It's been it's one of the 3 years. Sir.
Okay.
What are?
2019?
Yeah, 2019. 3.5 years. Been with art.
Any other jobs since then?
No, I tried landscaping, sir, but it really wasn't my cup of tea. The paying rate was real bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this the only job since the time you stopped your barbering work?
Pretty much, sure. Yeah, hard labor. Pretty much, I try to look for anything that can pay the bills, make ends meet. Pretty much.
Now, your establishment license was issued in 2014, and just a few years later, you had multiple violations over a period of months for the same violations. Specifically, you employed unlicensed persons to service your patrons. You were issued citations for those incidents, correct?
Yes, I was.
And you paid those citations in full?
Yes, I did.
And you're here today to reinstate just your barber's license, correct?
Yes.
What assurances can you provide to the board today that if your barber license is reinstated, that you'll comply with your duty to adhere to the board's rules and regulations?
Well, pretty much at this point, I will not look forward into opening up a shop, trying to be responsible with hiring unlicensed barbers. This trade has changed a lot. It's hard to find good workers, good help. They're not responsible. A lot of the new generations going into this trade, so it's so tough to get them disciplined. So I pretty much would just try to look for a nice shop that has a lot of volume that I can help out, that I can work, and that way I'm not, I could take care of my own station, clean my own tools, worry about, my own sanitation. So pretty much I won't make this error again. I won't be responsible for all these barbers, pretty much. So that's what I'm looking for, just to go back to my craft, back to cutting hair.
Do you keep current on the rules and regulations that pertain to your license?
Yeah, I reviewed a few. The SB 10, I believe it's 108. I reviewed it a few times, but like I said, I try to refresh. I go get haircuts, and I see a lot of rules I got fined for, like trash cans and stuff not being labeled. And I know every year they switch things up, but pretty much I try to keep a focused memory on my fines, my errors, and I go to a lot of shops. Cause I have friends that still own barbershops, and I see it sometimes, and I'll be like, wow, that's a fine. Damn, maybe bro, be careful with that. Hey, label that, bro. Hey, you can't have that in the restroom, bro. So pretty much, yeah, I could say that, I have a clear mind on knowing what I need to sanitize and how I need to keep my station organized, labeled, and to be professional, to be up to date with the rules and regulations.
Okay, and you may have addressed this satisfactorily in your last answer, but I'm looking for any additional assurances that you can give to the board as to how you intend to comply with the rules and regulations regarding your license going forward. Do you have a plan?
At this point, yeah, if you guys can put me even on a probation, anything, like you guys keep me supervised to see that, so I can prove to you guys that I'll do the right thing this time with my license. Pretty much that I'll be real responsible when as far as following the rules and regulations of the board.
And I think you spoke to this issue in your opening remarks, but do you have anything to add as far as why you'd like to return to barbering? Yeah, I know you mentioned the hard labor work that you've been doing, but any other reasons why you'd like to return to barbering?
I love the craft, you know. I like making people look good. Just not making them look good, that they feel good. It's just, and all these barber tattoos, they tell me, what are you pouring concrete? What is that, some scissors? What is it on your neck? What is this? And I'm like, that's all. I was a professional barber, bro, but I lost my license for some few errands that I made, and you know, so that's why I plan to go to barbering. This is what I do. I just want to go back to doing it pretty much.
And what, if anything, have you learned as a result of having your licenses disciplined?
It's tough. Don't take nothing for granted. You know, you have to really be blessed. You know, to have a professional trade, to take care of it. To you know, it's really an honor. You know, it's life is only getting harder. I'm only getting older. Pretty much.
Okay. I just want to go through a couple of questions on the character reference letters that you provided here in the packet. So if you could turn to the first one, a couple more pages in there, dated November 18th, 2021, from Cheryl Williams. Let me know when you're with me.
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
Okay. Greater New St. Matthew identified at the top. What is Greater New St. Matthew?
It's a church, sir.
Okay. And who is Cheryl Williams?
That's the pretty much the coordinator of the church. I go to pretty much here and there. I have a client there that's real close, and he got me involved, you know, in the events that they have there. So sometimes I go over there and help.
Okay. How long have you known Miss Williams?
Miss Williams, I know her not too long. I know his name's Kenny Shaw. He's one of my used to be one of my close clients. That's how I got to know her. But I've been knowing her probably about a good 6 years. But Kenny, he was actually one of my clients, and he's the one that got me involved there. I've been knowing him probably about a good 15 years.
Is Miss Williams aware of your accusation from 2018?
Yes, she is.
And how was she made aware of that?
When I asked her for this letter, sir, I told her what the situation I was going through, and she got me out with a reference letter. So I told her everything that was going on.
What exactly did you tell her?
That I pretty much had lost my barber license, you know, for hiring unlicensed barbers, and I needed a reference letter from her. You know, to my close people that I know that they could make me one.
Okay. And other than your explanation, did you provide her with any documents?
No, I just showed her the little situation I was going through, the paperwork from the state board, showing that my license had got revoked, pretty much.
You showed her documents?
Yes, sir.
Did you show her the accusation?
The accusation, yeah, I showed her.
And was Miss Williams aware of your citation from June 2017?
Yeah, she was aware of, well, I showed her and I told her what was going on.
And did you tell her also of the citation of September 2017?
She really didn't, I'll be honest with you, she didn't go through the paperwork. She really didn't, you know, acknowledge everything that was really going on. She went really based off my word, and she trusted me with my word, and she blessed me with the letter pretty much.
Okay, so you informed her of those issues before she drafted the letter or after she drafted it?
Before I told the situation.
Okay. Let's take a look at the next letter from Mr. Art Aguirre, dated November 16th, 2021. says here you've known Mr. Aguirre for over 12 years, is that right?
Yeah.
And was he made aware of the accusation from 2018?
Yes, he was. He's actually, as I met him, he was one of my clients, and when he realized the situation, he's the one that actually gave me the job for the. He's a floor contractor.
Okay, and how was he made aware of it?
He sees what was going on. I started losing barbers, and I started struggling, and then he started knowing the situation that was going on with the board coming in. So I told him
Okay, what did you tell him?
that I was having problems with barbers getting their license, pretty much getting their stuff together, because the wait was longer. I had more people waiting. Hey, what did I do? Ask me, clients ask you, hey, what happened to this barber and this barber? I'm like, I don't work here no more. So pretty much I told them the situation that I had to keep letting them go because they didn't want to go get their apprentice license. And he was realizing what I was going through.
And was Mr. Aguirre made aware of both of your prior citations from 2017?
Yes, sir, he was.
Now, in this letter, he refers to you as a great business owner. At the time he wrote this, was he aware that your establishment had been disciplined and revoked?
Yeah, he was.
Okay. Let's turn to the next letter from Miss Rosie Torres. Now, this was prepared in September of 2019, correct?
Yes, it was.
At the time it was prepared in 2019, Miss Torres states that her son had been your client since he was 10, right?
Right.
But your license was revoked about a year earlier, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I guess based on the way the letter's worded, it appears that in 2019 you were still cutting her son's hair. Is that right?
I'll be honest with you, I was doing a few house calls, but it wasn't really working out to go full time, to pretty much to be a full time barber, to make ends meet, the way just driving to people. So when I asked her for the letter, she was telling me, can you come to my house or can we go to your house to attend? But it just wasn't paying the bills. That's why I went full time with Art Aguirre. And I know it was the wrong thing to do too as well because I wasn't licensed.
And other than the home haircut for Miss Torres' son, did you perform any other home haircuts when you were unlicensed?
They asked me, a lot of my clients that really kept because I had a shop phone, and they didn't have my personal number, so it was a lot of them couldn't get a hold of me once the business was closed. But the few that did, they wanted to, but I know it was the wrong thing to do. I know it was wrong to do them a service. So I'll be honest with you, I was like, I was just scared. I was like, I'm gonna stop putting there for a few years till I get reinstated. So I didn't really push forward with it to try to grab all my clientele and keep going and make it a full-time thing.
So was Miss Torres' son the only individual whose hair you cut at home when you were unlicensed?
There was a few, sir. I'll be honest. I'll be lying to you if I say it was just him. There was a few, but it wasn't something that I kept doing.
Okay, and what's your best estimate when you say a few?
Probably 5-6 haircuts per week. It was just, and of course my family don't charge. Like my dad, my brother. It's just something they come over and you cut my hair.
But some you charge,
Well, some will just give me whatever they want, pretty much.
and you said that's about 5 or 6 per week.
Yeah, per week, but it wasn't paying the bills, and it wasn't the right thing to do since I wasn't licensed, performing services at people's houses.
And about how many weeks did that last?
Probably about a month, because the pandemic kicked in, and then it got really tough to go to anybody's houses,
Okay. When was the last time you did that?
It's been a few years, sir. I don't go to people's houses. The days off I have, I dedicate them to my family.
Now, did you have a relationship with Ms. Torres outside of the barbering services you provided to her son?
No, sir. She was just a client. She had asked me if I would do her a favor because her son didn't let nobody to get a haircut.
Okay, just a client.
Yeah, just a client.
Was she made aware of the accusation from 2018?
Yeah, they were all aware. Yeah, because they know they're not there. They ask questions. Why you close? Why you this?
And how was she made aware?
Well, just when I told her that what was going on, that's what she was worried.
What exactly do you recall telling me?
Just that I was at the state I came in and I had unlicensed barbers. And that was a mistake I did. That's why I got shut down.
Did you make her aware of your prior citations?
Yeah, she know they came in a few times. That's why I got shut down. Because she had told me, "Don't you just fine you?" I told her, "No, actually, it's not just fine."
And did she have that information before or after she prepared this letter for you?
No, she had that information. That's when I told her if she could help me out. And I want to get reinstated, so I asked her for a recommendation part.
Okay, so she had it before she
Yeah.
drafted the letter. All right, let's talk briefly about the next letter. September 23rd, 2019, from Luis Reyes. What is Gentleman Republic?
That's a jail, sir. That was one of their clients. They were the ones that will come in, pretty much the salesman that would come and deliver the gel. I used to buy gel from when I had a barbershop.
And when you say gel, you're referring to a
Hair gel.
grooming
Hair gel,
product?
yeah.
Okay. And who is Mr. Luis Reyes?
That's the owner of the company. He was well, at the time he used to deliver it. I remember the time he came in, he told me, "You know what? Just let me put it on your shelf. If it don't sell, I'll pick it up in a month. Or whatever you sell, you can just pay whatever you sold. And if you want to keep it, you can keep it. If not, just give it back to you. Pay the ones you sold." But he was a good dude. He's doing real good now. He's actually in different countries now, actually. But yeah, he was the owner of General Republic.
And was Mr. Reyes made aware of your 2018 accusation?
Yeah, sir. Yeah, because they keep us by seller's permit. So, the one way or the other, they got in contact with me and they told me what happened. And I told them the situation that we had to close down the barbershop. So, yeah, he was aware. That's why I asked him for the letter.
Okay. And did you know Mr. Reyes in 2017?
Yes, I did.
And was he made aware of your citations in 2017?
Yeah, he knows I had trouble because he actually owns a barbershop himself. So, I told him the situation of hiring unlicensed barbers because he's been struggling with barbers himself. But he don't work there. That's just established. So he was aware, yes.
Okay. Now in this 2019 letter, he says that you are an outstanding customer who is prompt with payment and an outstanding member of the community. When he says prompt with payment, what's he referring to?
Pretty much that I pay, we business, when he brings jail, that I pay on time. That I'm a loyal, pretty much that we do good business together, pretty much. My understanding, sir.
I guess what I'm asking is, since that's written in the present tense and the letter was prepared in September 2019, were you purchasing grooming products in 2019?
No, I asked them, I got in touch with them. I got in touch with the people that I could trust, that I could know, because, I asked more people, nobody gave me a card. I know some people actually let me down. And he was one that wrote it at the time, like if it was current, but I wasn't buying gel from him no more.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll open up questions from board members if they have any, and let me start on my left and then we'll work around. So Ms. Crabtree, we'll start with you. Do you have any questions for the petitioner?
Good morning.
Morning.
So, I see all that had been going on here through the last 4 years since your license has been revoked. My question is, I'm sure, technically you are a sound barber and are able to do technical work. The issue at hand here is the health and safety of the community.
Right.
And so, have you taken any time to research our health and safety codes on our website, on the Board of Cosmetology website, and any additional education have you done to stay up on the knowledge of health and safety for the consumer?
I seen a few, like I said on the line. I haven't really attended any classes or anything like that. But like I said, when I go to barbershops, I remember a few stuff that I got fined for, and I see the errors and I tell them, but they look at you like you're probably just like trying to throw dirt or like you're wrong, or no, they came in and they never gave me a fine for that. But I remember they're finding for like neck dusters or like lids not having tops or dust not being labeled. So I do recall some stuff, but I know every year it changes. So I'll be honest with you, I haven't kept updated to right now. But as far as everything in the past, from the fines I got, yeah, I do remember. But I haven't researched today's pretty much standards.
Okay. And what is your understanding as to why the board does have these regulations in place as for health and safety? When you say, you're letting your friends know and they think that you're over exaggerating maybe on that or whatnot, but what is your understanding as to why we are governing the health and safety of that?
For a lot of things, especially the pandemic, and there's just the sanitizing things, just to be cleaner for the environment, for the community. Don't want people getting infected with any type of ringworm or stuff that they don't clean or sanitize properly.
That's all. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Limas.
Morning.
Can you tell the board what has changed or what new things you've done since you last requested reinstatement?
It's been tough. It hasn't really changed. It's hard work, hard labor, just praying to get another shot. Just been stressful. Because I'm only getting older, and I tell myself like, am I ever gonna go back to this profession again or not? I'm getting close to my 40s, maybe my 50s. I said, figured I'm never gonna go back to the shop again. What am I gonna do? But just pretty much just hanging on, waiting for a response from the board.
Thank you. I don't have anything further.
And good morning to you. I just have a couple of questions. These citations occurred, these 3 citations for unlicensed activity occurred all in a 6-month period. It's important that our board understand that petitioners are willing to follow the directions and willing to rehabilitate himself and take what we do very seriously. But in 3 months, or in that 6-month period, it would seem to me that you'd be very inclined to want to follow all of our directions because it's a very short-term period. But in fact, you didn't. The other concern I would have is that in 2019, you were still cutting hair, whether it's for donations or an actual fee charge. It's the same, the amounts are exactly the same. And clearly, you must have known at the time that was against the board regulation. So I'm trying to understand how you've reformed in your consideration of following the rules and regulations of the sport.
Right. Well, it was just tough, the skill's always there. People still ask, they always ask, hey, can you give me a haircut, even if you don't charge? They want to give you something. But as far as all the fines, yeah, I know it was tough. It was tough. I don't know if it was some neighbor or some other barbershop that was doing that to us. And I know it was wrong having all the barbers, unlicensed. So at this point, like I said, I wouldn't want to take that responsibility again. I'd rather just work with somebody now.
But between the second and the third violation you had, this was unlicensed activity by exactly the same number, the same people involved. They were involved in September and then January of 2018. You were already cited by those individuals.
Right.
Why did you keep them employed during that period?
At the point, we had a lady that used to come. She owns a barber school on Broadway in, I believe, 59. And she was trying to push them, like, hey, you know what, just go, and I was trying to push them. She's only requiring $500 down. And we have barbers, I believe, they could have two per license. So we're about 4 of us that were licensed, and then we're trying to push them hard, and they were like, you know what, we already have the money. I'm trying to go to school, and I went off their word, sir, so I let them, I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna give you a shot, but they come in again, you're paying the fine. At first I was misunderstood, thinking it was just money. Like, they come in, they're gonna fine you, you're paying for it, bro, and I was wrong, you know?
Having them pay the fine is not taking responsibility for your own action, because ultimately it's you
Right.
that is going to be charged, and you to make the ultimate decision of whether they should be hired for your barber shop.
Right, so yeah, I totally understand that was the one wrong, sir.
I don't have any further questions.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis.
I'm
Morning.
sorry, I can't hear you. Make it your name, please.
The mic, if you go up, yeah.
Can you hear me? Good morning, Mr. Leaderson. I only have one question for you. Given the opportunity to get back into the industry and regain your license, what do you feel that you'll contribute to a shop, to the industry, maybe to the young people that are going through the same things that you went through?
Man, to try to do the right things, you know? Like I said, I go to barbershops, I try to see them what they're doing wrong. And I try to tell them, you know, that's not the right thing, you know, but just try to, you know, if anything, if I contribute to anything, you know, it's just to work hard. Like I said, I'm a good barber. I work hard for the community, and just try to do things the right way this time. Pretty much.
Would you have any desire to take on an apprentice if you did that? I know you said you didn't have a desire to open the shop, but would you have a desire to take on an apprentice?
I think I'll try to work on myself and try to focus on myself, and maybe down the line, maybe in a few years, if we see that the business is really, if I really need help and I can help out others, yeah, I'll try to give it another shot. But this time, him being apprentice before he even steps foot in the chair, you know, make sure his permits are stationed, and see if I could coordinate all the station to be the right way, because the fines come to me, you know, so it's pretty much, it's pretty scary, you know, because you're the quarterback, so they run on your responsibility. But like I said, maybe I'll just try to focus on myself. Maybe with time, maybe my mind will change into wanting to get an apprentice, but for now I wouldn't. You know, I like to work for somebody. Pretty much like they say, you go, we show an old dog a new trick, so maybe go work at a shop and see how he quarterbacks his shop, and maybe we can help out each other. Maybe you can show me a new trick now, you know, skateboard does this now, does this now. So pretty much, yeah, I work on myself. Maybe one day, yeah, my mind will change into taking on apprenticeship. But for now, I won't.
Good morning, Mr. Limas. My only question, I can see from the summaries that you did a lot of work following the DUI convictions. You did your civil service, and I would like to know what guarantees could you give the board that you would be willing to rehabilitate yourself in terms of ensuring that your license is compliant, that you're keeping up to current health and safety codes?
Well, if there's any course that you guys want me to take, I'll be more than happy to take it, you know. And if you guys want to put me on a probationary license to test me so I can prove to you guys, I'll be more than happy to do it. Anything, you know, just to get reinstated.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Limas. Tanya Fairley. I have a question for you. When did you actually close your business?
You know what, it's been a lot with the whole pandemic. I don't know exactly the date, but I believe it was what, 2019?
Okay, so you continued, even after you got the notice of revocation, you continue to have your business stay open?
No. Once they shut us down, my mind's there. We're sorry. I submitted it. I released it to the board. I mailed it in, and we shut down. I turned in my establishment license and my barber license, and I talked to the few barbers that I had left, which was 2, and I told them we're going to be shut down. for these reasons.
So did you shut it down the day they came in, or you shut it down when you got a notice in the mail?
When I got the notice, it said a date.
Okay.
I do remember that. It said a date when you could be established to that date. After that date, you have to close. And that's, we went away and did.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Is this on? No? Andrew Garcia and Diego Mendoza were the two individuals that you employed for a while, 3 times. Do you still have a relationship with them now?
I don't, sir. I know where Diego Mendoza's at. He's I follow him like on Instagram. I don't know if he has his barber license. I don't know if he has the printer's license. But I know he's still an active barber. The other guy, I don't know. I don't know where he ended up at.
Do you know if they went into licensing?
I mean, I don't. Hopefully they did. I'll be honest with you, I really don't. But I know Diego Mendoza does work for a legit shop. So hopefully he did. Hopefully he don't go with somebody else's shop and cause them problems.
And you had mentioned that you had brought them in to try and help the community and try and help them get some better skills. Is that right?
Yeah, try to get them established, and try to help out the community because it was long wait. It was real bad, I'm not just gonna say just for the community, but it was just per business period. You go in there and wait 2 hours. So I was desperate for barbers, and I made that error trying to help them out. But like I said, this new generation is so tough. They don't even like to work as it is. But I take fully responsibility for hiring them. I know I did wrong. I made a mistake. But yeah, sir, I was trying to help out the community.
Okay.
Make it faster service.
So were you helping them out in the community, or were you in need of barbers?
Helping the community out as well.
Okay. So at the time, were you trying to help them understand the licensing process?
Yes, sir. Yeah. As an owner, I think every owner try to go as much legit as we can,
Okay, and are they familiar with what has happened since then with your business license?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have contact with them, but I know they know.
Okay.
I know they know because they're working somewhere else. I know they know what could happen.
And so if we were to deny your license, or on the opposite end, bring it back, what would the message be to those two individuals for the future of getting into the licensing?
To get licensed, it's not worth it. It's not worth the money, the time you're gonna get away with it. It's not even worth it because on the other side of the quarter, it's worse. It's just better going to school, get your hours in, get out the way, get licensed, and you're set, to go to work. So.
Okay, but if we were to, if you were to get your license back, what would the message be to those two individuals and others who don't see the necessity of going through the licensing process?
Well, all I can tell them is, good luck, get your license. I recommend it. It's the only way to work. If you're doing it wrong, bro, community service without a license, it's the wrong thing to do. Get your license.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. We've heard from the board members. Mr. Shetty, do you have any follow-up questions to the board?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Limas, you've heard the questions and concerns that the board has voiced. Do you want to say anything else?
I just want to say thank you for your time. And for being here, for giving me a shot at my license.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, we'll do a final closing argument at this time. If you have any or any recommendations.
Your Honor, we'll just defer to the board for that.
Okay, and any other thoughts, Mr. Limas? Anything else you wanted to tell the board before we end the hearing?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we will The matter is submitted. The board is going to deliberate in closed session. And as I indicated to you before we started the hearing, Mr. Limas, it's probably going to take a few months before you get something in writing from the board.
Right.
We have your updated address and all the documents. So at this time, the matter is submitted and will go off the record.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to reconvene the board in open session. And we would start on the agenda with item 3, board president's opening remarks. And all I have to say is it's nice seeing all of our old and new board members in person. Our last in-person board meeting was March 9th, 2020. So that's more than 2 years ago. That's a long time not to see each other's faces and have this kind of interaction, positive interaction that we have. Well, and being online at least kept us operating during COVID, so we were able to get through that. But we're hardwired as people to meet in person, to see people's faces and hear their voices. There's a lot of value in in-person meetings that they drive participation and interaction. While attending in person, I found the distractions are removed. There's something invigorating being in a room full of people all going for the same ultimate goal and working together on something. And I think the ROI on our in-person board and committee meetings are well worth the expense. That being said, this board should be congratulated for what it's been through over the last 2 years. We were meeting virtually, yet it actually has proven to be probably the most productive board period in the history of the board as far as getting things done. I mean, all of you that participated in that were magnificent. The list of the major accomplishments we were able to do in the last 2 years is staggering. It's really staggering. We got through sunset review, always a big deal. Implementation of SB 803, PSP, reduction of school hours, elimination of the practical exam, haircutting license, the reinvigorations of our board standing committees, apprentice standards, mobile unit licensing. I mean, it's a plethora of things that are just read down and you get extraordinarily good at getting through that. So everyone really should be congratulations. And new members should have something to look forward to. I think that we're going to have a very passionate and good board here. We'll certainly have challenges in 2022, but I think everyone's up to the challenge. So I'm looking forward to a great and productive year for everyone on the board, and I obviously welcome our new faces and our new board members because you're going to really contribute to the whole here. I should also mention that to the public that's in attendance today, that we're going to be open for public comment on each item. Each developing item. The public comments you give must be specific to that agenda item. And if not, hold your comments till the very end. There'll be an open session of public comments that you can comment on anything at that point. So we're going to hold the public comments to 3 minutes. So we'll time you on that. But I'm sure everyone's going to be heard, which is great. That being the case, I would ask on item number 4, do any other board members have any remarks?
I just want to say happy Stylist Appreciation Day.
How appropriate. How appropriate. Yes, that's true. Okay. Next, let's move. Anyone else have any comments? Okay. Next, let's move. Oh, yeah. Yolanda, this is your very first meeting You weren't even online with us before because you just got appointed. So yeah, congratulations there. And Megan, you know you're an old pro. This is
First in person.
Exactly. So let's talk now about a discussion of the board minutes. Has everyone reviewed the board minutes from our last meeting? Does anyone have a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Jackie made the motion. Who's second? Reese. Okay, good. All right. And in that case, we're going to go to public comments on the minutes of the last meeting. Would anyone like to comment from the public? And seeing no one interested in that, we're going to come back. And Marcine, will you read the roll call of the board members for our vote on the minutes?
Yes, Steve Weeks,
Yes?
Melanie Pham,
Yes.
Jackie Crabtree,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Tanya Fairley,
Yes.
Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Derek Matos,
Yes.
and Yolanda Jimenez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So the minutes are now approved. And before we go to our next item, the management reports by Chrissy, let me also say, when I was talking about the board and how much work the board has done the last 2 years, let's talk about how much our staff has done in the last 6 months. I mean, they have had an extraordinary burden of work they've had to do with new regulations, and great job. I don't know of another board that has such great staff. I'm a little biased there. But I don't know anyone else that has staff as talented as ours. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to start my report by thanking my staff that is here today. We have our Deputy Executive Officer, Carrie Harris. We have our Chief of Enforcement, Nicole Quinn, and we have our Chief of Licensing and Admin, Alex Torkelson. And then, of course, most of you know Marcine, my right and left hand, and Allison Lee, who is also my right and left hand. You know, I have a lot of hands.
Good to have you
I have a lot of
here.
needs.
Good to have you here.
So thank you. It has been quite the whirlwind over the last couple of years, to be honest. Hopefully you all received my email when we provided the agenda item packets that we've decided to do something a little different this time. So we would welcome any feedback on that, but we did take a look at many other boards within DCA to kind of see, you know, Carrie and I always think there's room for improvement in everything we do, no matter how long we've been at our positions. So we looked at some other boards. We decided to copy our friends at the Veterinary Medicine Board because we liked their reports that they provided to their board. So we're hoping that this gives you a little more information, a little more analysis about some of the data that you're seeing. The data that we've always seen in the past is still in here. It's just a lot more information. So I'll just go ahead and walk us through each of the reports. So our first report is our administrations and operations report. You'll see that we do have a new manager in that position. She came to us from another board within Department of Consumer Affairs, and that we do have 3 vacancies. We are struggling, as with many other state agencies, as well as private industries, with hiring staff, mostly because just the lack of interest. We're actually trying something for the first time with some of our vacant positions is going out on Indeed to see if that will help increase our applicants, because I've been with the state, with the Department of Consumer Affairs for about 28 plus years, and usually when you post like a manager position, you get a stack of applications this high. We currently posted a position and we received only 6 applications. So, and we're hearing that from all other agencies. We're hearing that from private industries. So it's just really tough right now to fill these vacant positions. So we're trying to be creative. We're trying to reach out and look at different options. One of the things that we are doing is really looking at our emails that we receive in our office. We do have an 800 number. That 800 number goes to the Department of Consumer Affairs call center. But they're not being our staff, they're not trained to really dig into our breeze records and really find what the problem is. One of the most common questions we get right now is, when's my exam? Because it's anticipated to be a quicker turnaround because we're just the written exam now. So we process the application, and as soon as that gets processed, a letter gets mailed out to these individuals, and they can go online and schedule their own exam. So students, as expected, are very anxious to get their test dates. So we're receiving an average of 242 emails a day, and we can't keep up with it. So it's something that we are looking at, gaining additional staff to see if we can handle that workload, because what we have to do is redirect our licensing staff to answer these emails, which means that the work's not getting done. So it's just a constant balance.
And what you've done here could be a prelude to stepping into a call center format, because I'm a big advocate of that.
Absolutely.
I think that it's ridiculous the amount that we have to push on our own staff right now
Right.
to handle these calls. when
Right.
They have to let something go to do it.
Yeah, and we've put we have an automatic response to our emails that basically says you might not get a response for a few days. We used to always answer our emails within 24 hours, and now this morning there were over 700 emails, and they all take research, so they're not quick emails. So unfortunately, emails are taking a little bit of a second backseat in a sense, because we have to get the applications done, so that hopefully that prevents more emails from coming in.
What other boards have their own call centers?
Many other boards have that.
Really?
Registered nursing, medical board, all have their own call centers.
And I'm assuming these would not get as much volume as we would anticipate just by our sheer number of licensees.
We're definitely one of the biggest boards, so we get a lot.
Yeah.
So next on the item is our strategic plan, which some of you have probably all been contacted about that as well. I just had my interview with the strategic plan team just last week, so I know they're working very hard on that. They're a great group, and I'm super excited to look forward to developing our new strategic plan for the next few years. And then, of course, our budget projections are included, as well as our fund condition. Again, don't panic, file the red. The budget is definitely, we are working very close with our budget office on a daily basis to try to look at what is going to happen still with the elimination of the practical exam and the facilities where those exams were taking place. We're looking to try to increase our staff for this email situation. So there's just a lot of fluctuation on our budget. Of course, we have a very healthy budget.
Are you anticipating a surplus budget by doing this?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's very safe in that perspective.
Very, very solid budget. It's just getting it to a point where we need to look, we would like to not see the red anymore, because we've seen the red at the same for several years. So the bottom line is always great. It's just working with budgets. Unfortunately, our friends at DCA who do our budget, they're also experiencing the same staffing issues the rest of us are. So we're all kind of struggling to try to get through our days. I know they have a lot of brand new staff, so there's some training as well that's going on with them. So, okay, I'm gonna move on. Next is our licensing and exams and disciplinary review committee report. Again, we've given you an update on our staffing. We have some new staff that we hired. We've hired some seasonal clerks to help us out. We're pretty much 100% automated in a sense that we have seasonal staff scanning everything that comes in. So we are eliminating the paper process that has been huge for this board. Of course, we had to quickly adjust for COVID when our staff was working from home. We are partially still working from home. Our licensing unit works 3 days in the office, 2 days at home. All of our other units work 3 days at home, 2 days in the office. The workload's just so different that we need the licensing staff in the office. So we, as I mentioned earlier, we have 3 vacant positions in our licensing unit right now. And then we have requested permission to hire 4 limited term positions. So that's a position that would be for 2 years. And those positions are all posted right now. So we're waiting for the application period to end. And we'll do interviews to fill those positions. But that's going to make a huge difference in that email volume that we get.
Chrissy, can I ask a question?
Sure.
When in all the positions that are posted, how often is the requirements either updated or looked at to see if what is required for these positions really fit what we're looking for? Like example, you know where I was going. So it's
department has it's the same.
Oh, so it's the same across the board no matter what? If you're
Yeah,
in
I mean,
state.
these positions are very standard, not bottom of the level entry. They're kind of in a sense clerical positions. They're in our licensing unit. We utilize what's called program technician 2s. That's a very common statewide classification that all departments use, or most departments use. So those are really common, and it's definitely geared toward this type of position. It's the inspector positions is probably the only one we have issues with.
And do you think and I think we were talking about, I've mentioned this before just in general, but I know that one of the requirements for inspector is you have to have a bachelor's degree or.
You have to have a certain amount of units in criminal justice.
Okay.
And that's a project that we're working on to try to update.
Does that look like it's going to be successful?
It's more, I've been working on it probably since day one that I started with the board. 15 years.
It just seems like that's a barrier that
Absolutely.
is not
It is.
conducive to what they do out in the field. And
Absolutely.
so every time I see these openings and positions and they're going longer and longer, that means that there's more establishments and more people that are not being investigated that should, because this is what the true holdup probably really is.
Yes.
Is that barrier.
That as well as the pay scale for the inspector positions. Which
Well,
you'll see our vacant inspector positions in the next report.
Through legislative
No, but
to
it goes
change that
through the
requirement, because I know it's a very.
it's not legislative, it's through CalHR, so the Department of Human Resources. So it's like a control agency over our department. And DCA can't change
Right.
classification. It has to go to what used to be called State Personnel Board, is now called CalHR. And we have a package though. We've been, like I said, I've been working on the inspector positions literally since day one. And this is the most positive I feel about it.
You got to smile. I can see that.
So I mean, the department supports us. It's been, it is moving forward.
Okay.
I know for a fact it's moving forward.
Okay.
So it's super exciting possibility.
Well, when I was doing the call with whatever we just recently did. With the
Strategic planning.
strategic plan, she said it's every board has the same complaint
Yes.
about the inspector.
Yes. Okay, so moving on to the licensing report. Personal service permit has been implemented. After 4, maybe plus years, it is finally a thing that people can apply for. We have only had, Carrie, do you know off the
Last I looked was
8?
rising.
8.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
I think it is.
the insurance. Do you think it's the insurance?
No,
requirement?
I think it's a telltale sign of the ramifications of COVID and the fact that everyone went to working from home. And I think people are working from home. And so why now would they get a PSP? So we'll talk about that a little bit when we get to the enforcement report, that I think we're trying to up we need to do something about people working from home that are absolutely, whether they're licensed in working from home whether they created a very cute little she shed in their backyard, because a lot of people have done that. We can get them an establishment license. We can work with some of these people, but I think that's a telltale sign of why PSP has gotten nothing. Because everyone it was so exciting in the beginning, and now nothing. And we were geared up and ready to go, and we're deflated. So.
Let me ask a question. When in the process of the PSP, was there all, because as a stylist, as when you pass your state board, you don't have to be fingerprinted.
Right.
So implementing a fingerprint scan for some people is another telltale sign of digging into their background.
Yes.
So what was the I just came in April, so I wasn't here for this whole. What was the not the factor, but do you think that's going to continue to play a role in it? Because a fingerprint is it meaning if they find that they have a felony conviction, like that's going to be a reason for them not to get their PSP?
So I don't personally think that's going to be a reason not to get a PSP. I think when people do their fingerprints, we're going to get their rap sheet, their criminal convictions. But I think we need to remember that we do license people currently incarcerated, and we go and test people currently incarcerated, and it can be a very good profession for people to get into who have had a colorful past. So we always try to remind people of that if they call and ask us, because we would only deny somebody who was had a conviction directly related to their scope. So we would look at a PSP if someone went into somebody's home and did something really bad, then we might deny. Honestly, in my time at being with this board, that's not a lot of what we see. A lot of what we see is people who have just made some bad choices in the past, who have gone to school, who have been honest when they got their application in the first place, and we didn't deny them. But we added the fingerprint card situation because they are going into someone's home. And we're licensing that. We know it happens, but now we're actually giving them permission from the state board to say that we've done that. So we want to do our due diligence to make sure that that person is completely safe to go into somebody's home. So far, our 8 that we've received, I believe we've processed perfectly fine with no issues.
Another issue there could be, there's one thing us denying the license. Well, what about the liability insurance carrier? Could they deny coverage due to a felony conviction?
I don't know. I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so too.
And
they don't get that.
what is the average cost of insurance? Do you have any idea what their $1 million policy in our industry
I
would be?
do. We had that in our background, and it was not a lot. It was very minimal.
It's about
A few $100.
I carry
Yeah.
it on one of my salons.
Is the
I have $1 million on one of my salons, and I think it's like a couple $100 a month.
And there are carriers that specialize in just salon and barbershop insurance.
Yeah.
Where's my phone?
Just to touch on that, Steve, there are carriers that specialize just in that, but all the major carriers, excuse me, they do carry liability insurance for trade as well.
Okay, good.
And it can range anywhere from the low point for an individual for about $50 a month, all the way up to a month, depending on the size of the salon. To Jackie's point, going up to a couple $100 for $1 million plus policy.
But they would, if the minimum policy was $600 a year, and let's assume that the average is much higher than that. Is there an in-between carrier, an excess line carrier that's actually doing the financing on this so they can get this stuff financed?
That's a good question. I don't have that information to answer that now. Right? That's definitely a
I
valid
bet there's
question.
ways they can do terms.
Sure.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was a denying factor. Well, we only have 8 so far.
And we have a public mall location that requires that.
Exactly. It's your landlord, yeah.
Okay, so moving on to our statistics. These are our regular statistics that we provide. Obviously, we no longer have the practical, so you see the exam sites are a little smaller than they used to be. But we have our pass rates, and then in pages 4 and 5, we have our pass rates broken down. It continues to be a concern with our Spanish pass rates. And there's been a lot of discussions going, and you'll hear a slight update about this board has looked at apprentice regulations to try to increase that program because we are seeing so many issues with the pass rates for the Spanish pass rates of individuals coming from the Apprentice Cosmo program. So that is something, the regulations we're working on for the apprentice program are extensive. And, you know, those are still a little ways out, but we're still continuing to see these lower pass rates from that program.
But are regulations concurrently being worked on by?
Yes.
Christy, I appreciate that on the written exam results you listed the highest pass rates for each language category. I think that it's really helpful to see it that way. For Spanish, how it says manicuring is 77%. I wonder if that can give us some insight on things that are working well and whether there's a way that that information is being taught that can be applied to the other programs. So that maybe we've been working on this problem for so long, maybe there's some, you know, hints in that. So I appreciate the presentation of the information this way.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Chrissy, may I ask you? With the removal of the practical exam, we know that written has pretty much been the higher issue in the past,
Right.
especially in the Latino community, the Spanish community. Has there been an increase, have we seen since the last report in the failure rate?
We have not seen, it seems pretty standard. It continues to be pretty consistent from month to month. And so, but that's still something we're continuing to monitor. You know, we were backlogged for the exam, so we're still seeing people test who may have finished, you know, a few months ago, who were prepared for both exams. So we're still seeing that as well. So I think we just have to continue to monitor to see where that's going to end up going.
Christy, are we able to administer the written exam more often now
Yes.
that we're not? Okay. What was it before and what are we going to be able to do?
Well, before an individual was scheduled to do their written at the same time to do their practical. So for one, they weren't getting an exam site from 30 days from the time that we finally processed it. So the application would have to come in, go through our cashiering unit, come into our licensing unit and be evaluated. But that, you know, you're looking at you could be looking at 6 weeks right there. Then we would process the application. Then we would schedule them 30 days out because we had to have that lead time for our facilities. So then they would 30 days out, then we would schedule them at the same time. Now, somebody could change their written in that old scenario and choose not to take their written on the same day as their practical. And some people did. But most people didn't because you were handed your license right after you passed both parts of the exam. So now there's no practical. So now as soon as it gets processed with us, a letter goes out immediately letting them know that they can contact PSI, who's our exam vendor, you can schedule right away. And PSI also sends out a notification. So they're actually getting 2 notifications to contact PSI, and they can do it online or they can call PSI. And what they can do is PSI has facilities all over the state, and they have certain slots open every day. So they can pick their time and their location of when they want to go. So it's really reducing the time that they have to wait, but it's also up to them. You know, you have people that say, I want 2 more months. I don't, you know, so they can schedule out far as well. So we're monitoring that as well because it's been a little uncomfortable because normally we know how many people are examining every single day for us. And now we don't because they're at 25 different sites PSI has. A lot of sites all over the state where they're examining every day. So somebody could call, and if there's a spot open, they could go test tomorrow, or they could test, you know, whenever they want when there's a slot open. So it's a huge difference.
Great. So the applicants are in control
Yes.
of when they okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are the costs of the examination, does that cover our cost of PSI?
It does. That's all in our standard contract that we have. All right. Any other questions about the exam pass rates? Moving on to our licenses issued, you can see that in January, in our first quarter this year, numbers are going up. Again, this is likely just getting back to normal from COVID when schools were closed down as well. Lots of schools were doing online virtual, but they might have been stretched, their courses were stretched out farther. But we're definitely returning to a normal workload flow in our office. And then we've done a comparison of the licenses issued for the last 5 years, our current licensed population. Any questions on any of that? And then we go into our DRC. We actually held a DRC hearing.
Was it?
Sort of. We were here. We were down in this area for a few days, and we unfortunately had a tremendous number of no-shows for the hearings. Tremendous. It's never happened in my 17 years. It's never happened. So Jackie and Steve and Reese were very patient with us because I was mortified. And we have now sent letters to everyone we have under appeal. Has received a letter from us verifying, do you still want to maintain this appeal or do you want to withdraw? And we've had quite a few who've just wanted to withdraw. So hopefully, once we have our time frame, we gave them all a time frame to respond to that letter. So once we have that completed and passed, we'll relook at DRC and start scheduling those hearings again, and hopefully we will have people show up. So that's our DRC stats. Moving on to enforcement, we have a new inspector. We have a new enforcement manager. Her name is Macy. I know I don't know how to say Macy's last name. I don't want to butcher it, but she's probably watching. So Macy is our new enforcement manager. And we also have a brand new inspector in our Sacramento area. Her name is Monica Williams. And of course, we have 2 vacancies in our enforcement unit. Those are analysts that actually work the enforcement cases before they go out to an inspector. And then we decided to put our inspector vacancies in a chart to make it easier to see. So we have 7 inspector vacancies, and we have 2 inspector 3. So the supervisor positions are also vacant. We do have 1 supervising inspector that is in our Northern California area.
Are we competitive in salary even in inspector 3 positions?
No. No. So again, I have a lot of hope right now. I have a lot of hope that we're going to be making changes because, again, we don't pay our inspectors enough money to live in some of the cities where we need them. So we have a great inspections team. I can tell you, I think in my long time of being here, we have some of the best inspectors out in the field right now that we've ever had. We have shifted our, kind of our, not our attitudes, but kind of how we work in inspections. We want to be partners with establishments. We want to help them make sure they know what to do to not get a violation. And we do have a lot of new inspectors, and I think it's been a positive change for us. Some of you who have been on the board for a long time know that we've had a lot of legislative interest in our inspections program because at one time we received a lot of complaints about the inspections program. And we receive so few complaints now that we actually have forgotten how to track it. We just had to remind ourselves just last week. And I used to be asked by the legislature all the time on our inspections program, and it just seems to be going really good. We have this many vacancies, but our inspectors that we do have stepped up, and when we have a consumer case that's in 2 cities over, we have somebody that's volunteering to go to that city. So I can't say enough about how great our inspections unit is doing and the help that they've done because we have so many vacant territories, but we have our inspectors willing to travel.
Are our numbers down in inspection compared with fiscal year 2019, which I guess would be the closest comparison?
Yeah, I mean, they would have to be. We've always maintained a high volume of vacancies. So when some of you newer members might see this and be, what the heck? It's it's not that surprising to us. I can't remember the last time we had less than 5 vacancies. It's usually a number we kind of float around. And one of the issues with the inspector positions is, or state positions in general, is you have to take an exam to become a state employee. So when people see an inspector position and you have to have these 12 credits for in criminal justice, but they think they can just apply for a position. So we get people where their apps look great, but they don't even qualify for an interview because they haven't taken the test. So that's something we are working on as well, to try to make sure we're telling these people, we would have loved to have interviewed you, but you need to you need to apply to take the exam first. So we're trying to encourage that, because we've gotten applicants where their applications looked great, but they didn't take the test, so we can't even interview them.
If they take an exam, can they shop the results of their examination to other boards?
Well, there's only 2 other boards, maybe, that even use this classification, other than it's a Department of Consumer Affairs classification. The medical board uses it. The dental board might use it still, but maybe very small, if that. And they use them in a very different way. And they use them. We have a Bureau of Home Furnishings. They're called something else now, but they inspect for the seals on the mattresses and things like that. They use the inspector position. They've since transitioned away from that classification completely. We are looking at our possibilities, like, could we take some of our vacancies and what type of other classifications exist out there? We are looking at special investigator positions, and that would they would be a non-sworn position. So if we needed to use a sworn peace officer, that would go to our Division of Investigation. But we are looking at trying to reclass a couple of our positions to the special investigator. And what that person would do would handle much more extensive investigation of the complainant. So say it's a consumer harm complaint. They would go interview the person who was injured. They would go interview the person who caused the harm. Whereas our inspectors are really looking and writing down what they see. So the special investigator would be a little bit at a more different level, more extensive actual investigation.
They wouldn't investigate every directed complaint.
Right. No, they would investigate the most egregious, and where we need to really dig deeper to try to see what we can find. So we're looking at that possibility, hoping to have an update on that at our next board meeting, actually, because it's something we're actively pursuing.
Are the inspectors still experiencing aggression and, I mean, in the past, we've had people be locked in,
Not
there's been some
really.
aggressiveness.
Not really, and I think it helps that we're changing our culture. I can tell you.
Well, I just wondered if that's maybe the criminal 12 minutes comes from, because they deal with some.
It was probably done so many years ago, and it just is very hard to get something like that looked at. One of the things we're seeing, as I mentioned, that we're having a hard time getting people to apply for jobs, I know the industry is as well. So I can tell you, we are seeing a lot of shops where there's just the owner working, or there's the owner and one person. And that's so common. When I look at inspection reports, you're looking at big shops where there's only 2 people working, 1 person working. So we're going to see a lot less of the individual IRs done. You're seeing mostly just establishment inspection reports coming through. And it's just, I think, a telltale sign of what's going on in everywhere.
Can you give me an example of how we're changing our inspecting culture?
I think we've changed. Some of the things we've done is we instituted monthly meetings with all of our staff. We provide a lot more training than we have had in the past. We've done customer service training. We've done diversity training. We have also hired a manager. Unfortunately, that position is vacant right now, but we do have Nicole. And we're doing more one-on-ones with our inspectors directly. I think a lot of times, they work out of their homes, so they don't have an office to come into. So we've really tried to increase their participation in the board as a whole. And I think that's made a big difference. The information sharing, even if it's information that doesn't necessarily pertain to the inspections process, but we're sharing information with them, making them feel more inclusive, increased training, getting their input as well in their monthly staff meetings. And honestly, COVID has benefited us with that because we didn't do virtual meetings before COVID. We didn't do virtual staff anything. And so we used to only meet with our inspectors. We would fly them all to Sacramento, or anybody in Sacramento would fly down here for these meetings. And now, because we had to meet with all of our staff virtually, it allowed us to have regular contact with our inspectors. So we've had, and we have a lot of new staff, and we've trained them in the manner of being, looking for real consumer harm, working with our licensees. If you go into a shop and you see that someone forgot to close the cabinet of their clean towels, and that's your only thing you see, tell them to close the clean towel cabinet. And not so much nitpicky, but really look at the overall salon. How's it look when you come in? Is it clean, or are you concerned? Because it's very obvious. It's obvious. And so, that change of mindset and really like making sure we're looking for protecting consumers on and just engaging with them on a regular basis. So it's made a huge difference.
Because do schools get inspected as well?
They do. And we used to go out with BPPE a lot. That person that is assigned to that job is out on leave. So we're not doing any joint inspections with BPPE at this time, but we do health and safety inspections on schools. And obviously if there's a complaint against a school, we share information with the Bureau and then go from there on that. But yes.
Are the students, obviously the schools, they have a timeline in which students are practicing on the public.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen a school get fined because of a violation that should have been trained in that environment?
No, I have not ever seen that, and I don't know that we ever would see that, because when we go in to inspect schools, we go in and inspect for health and safety only. So we are not talking to the students. That's an interesting point, though. We are not talking to the students, finding out when did you complete your freshman period and should you be on the floor providing services, because our authority to inspect schools is just for health and safety.
But wouldn't that be in the safety realm if they are?
Well, by health and safety, I mean our health and safety regulations. That's a good point. I can tell you that I've not ever had an issue. I've not ever heard that being an issue. I've never seen that come up as an issue.
I raise that as curiosity, and also because with the implementation of externships and also with apprenticeships, now we have these students going into a professional salon or environment or barbershop, what have you. That is cause for a little bit of alarm.
Yes.
So maybe as something that can help to prevent that beforehand, give them some sort of guidance or have an inspector come out just to check on some of the basic things.
Yes.
I was just wondering for that reason.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on, our enforcement complaints. We've got some beautiful charts for you. We're talking about just kind of giving you an idea of the type of complaints we receive over a period of history and then over January through March. And then included is, going on from there is our enforcement statistics. We have also our inspection statistics. We also have included our out of business and closed on call. We thought this was an interesting information. Closed on call is what we say when an inspector arrives at a salon and it's closed for whatever reason. They actually write up a quick little IR to say that they've been there. A lot of times it's directed, they're out there for a reason. And so they'll let us know. We monitor how many closed on calls. It's starting to get better. You can see like in July and August, those were the out of businesses are a lot as well, but the closed on calls were very high because salons weren't able to open every day. They were picking and, having to pick and choose dates because of COVID and the staffing issues and everything that came with that. And then lastly is our citations, request for payment notices. This is new information that we're providing. When someone has an outstanding fine, we send them 3 notices, and then we will eventually turn them over to a franchise tax board for collection of those payments. So that's that information. And then we also have information on our payment plans. As you know, several years ago, we had a piece of legislation that allowed people to request a payment plan. That was another information that Vlad is our DRC lead, in case someone of you don't know him. But in our letter that we sent out to the people who have pending appeals, we also let them know of this payment plan option in case they want to, opt for that instead of coming to a DRC hearing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right. So next is our outreach report. You're going to hear an outreach report from our outreach committee, but this, we wanted to just tell you that we have been publishing the personal service permit on our Facebook page. We're also just launched our Safe Sandal Season 2022. This is an outreach campaign that we do every year. We have a new public information officer working at DCA, and she's amazing and helping us with our new Safe Sandal season. Hopefully we'll get some media attention and be on the news or on morning shows. They usually take us up on it. So she's been working great on getting the word out, and it's all about, making sure people are licensed, making sure things are being disinfected. And then we're going to slide in the PSP aspect into that outreach campaign just to make sure. We do have some injury reports from people who have had service done out of homes. So it is happening. So we want to make sure we're letting people know. And Marcine is our outreach coordinator. She has been working on trying to see what we can do to get our message out more to consumers. We do a great job with industry. But we really need to get that message to the consumer. So Marcine and our DCA public information officer are really working on that to try to get out and be more visible to consumers. And then we've listed some of our upcoming events that we have. And lastly is our SB 803 implementation plan. We have completed a lot of this. As we mentioned in our last meeting, our hairstylist license that is taking some time, but it is progressing forward. The Office of Professional Examination Services is working on the occupational analysis for that, and we'll have to develop an exam. So it is still a ways away. We've updated information for the estheticians for what has changed in SB 803 on that aspect. Reciprocity, as you all know, or new to some of our new, sorry, I know some of you are new, but I just assume everybody knows what I'm talking about. SB 803 made it so a license, if you have a license in another state, you can immediately get a license in California. We're monitoring this very closely. We have seen an increase in our reciprocity applicants. I think it might be something it will be an issue that we'll be bringing to our committees because I think there's some concerns. We're seeing a lot of people getting that license, but not living in California. So there's no residency requirement. So now we're seeing all kinds of people coming in from other states because they want the California license, but we don't know if that means, are you moving to California in a month and you're planning ahead, or are you just getting that California license? And then we have a concern with fraud happening in this area. And I'm working on a meeting with all the executive officers of every other state board. We have that planned for September, and that's on our agenda to talk about the potential fraud that's happening in certification letters, or now that you can come into California and get a license so easy, you can also then go back out of California and get a license easy in another state. And we want to make sure somebody's not just basically selling these licenses to other people. And we have, you know, Christy Underwood's licensed in 5 different states, and there's 5 Christy Underwoods working in all those states. So we are monitoring it very closely. We actually have a date. Carrie and I look at a report that we look at every single day. We're seeing people coming into California at the same address. So that's a red flag. Are they all living at, you know, and it could be very fine, but several red flags have been raised. So we will likely be putting data together and taking this to the licensing committee and kind of discussing and looking at if there's some regulations we should be doing, if there's, you know, just a red flag. There's some red flags going on there. Next is our pre-apprentice training is still in the process of being worked on, and that's going to obviously take some time as well. The removal of the pre-app is completed. The removal of the practical exam is completed. Our mobile unit updates have been completed. The school curriculum is completed. We've approved 198 schools with new programs. The extern is, we are looking for some cleanup language, which is in a bill that you're going to see in a little bit. Because in SB 803, it addressed cosmetologists, but didn't address barbers. We want to make it even for both. I do have a couple red flags on this situation as well. We are seeing some increase in the use of the extern program, which could be good, but we want to make sure the externs are just for cosmetology, barbers, and electrologists. And we're seeing a lot of externs coming in and they're working in nail-only salons. That's not necessarily against the law because there is an aspect of nails in the cosmetology program, but we don't know how long they're working in those programs because that's not within our authority. Our authority is only for the school to notify us that they're participating with Christie's Salon in the extern program, and that's it. It's other than that, it becomes between the school and the salon. And I don't personally think that's right. I think it's something that we will probably, again, be bringing to one of our committees. We're continuing to monitoring it to see what we can find out. It's very hard to monitor because we don't really have a lot of authority there. We just have the agreement between the 2 programs. But we have noticed that we are seeing some schools only submitting that agreement with nail salons. So, you know, the nail salon is very small. So are they just going and doing, you know, a few hours? Are they doing, you know, a lot of hours and getting credits? It's something that we see a red flag with.
Christy, with these red flags, are you able to reach out and ask those specific questions, or is it hands off because the agreement is not directly with DCA, but with the school and the?
No, we're gonna ask.
Okay.
We don't really, again, they are within their rights. They are within the authority to do what they're doing. So we're navigating that right now on what we can do to make sure that it's not being abused in a sense. And it might not be.
No, I
It
understand.
could be running great.
Could you give a quick example of what that might be?
Which part?
Will it be a restriction in hours or a timeline as how many
Well,
hours it can be?
That would be against the school because it would be, they would be out of compliance because they would be, it would depend on what we found if we were to find something. So say we found a school that is sending externs to a nail salon and granting them more hours than they should. That would take an investigation, which we would be able to do. That would be within our authority. Because they're submitting their proof of training to us, so it would almost be falsifying their proof of training because they would be giving them hours for something that they shouldn't have. That's the concern.
And at that point, if they completed their extern hours, would they then have to go back to the school? Meaning if the externship hours were unbalanced in comparison to what they should be learning in school or in class?
Well, it would depend. So that would be taking action against the actual student, which we would not do because we wouldn't have that authority.
Sure.
We would take the action against the school. If a student did end up, if we did have a concern about a specific student, like say we found some fraud within the school, we could look at those students and then we would have to determine, so say the student then might not have completed all their hours in another area, or they might have. So it would just depend.
The onus would be on the facilitator, right? I mean,
Right.
it would be on the program that they're in, not so much the
Yes.
student, because they're being led in that direction.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, we've completed our survey online, which is our practice status survey where people say, I'm an independent contractor, I'm a licensee employee. Unfortunately, we're not getting a lot of those right now because we're still within the governor's 2-year waived fees, so they don't have to renew right now. And our fines, we are looking at our fine schedule to determine the impact to consumer safety, and that's in our health and safety committee, which we'll hear about that update. But we have another meeting on that discussion that will be in June. And then we had some miscellaneous items that we had to do for 803, which have all been completed. Good job.
And with 803, do we have any sense of timing about new appointees to the board? And where is our quorum right now with that number?
Our quorum is 7, I believe. So we have to have 7 members at every meeting to hold business. I had thought we would have at least 1 new appointee by this meeting, but it did not happen. So I am hopeful by our next meeting that we will have 1, if not more, members. I know the governor's office and the Department of Consumer Affairs are working on that, and I know there's some wheels are turning. So I anticipate we will have new members soon.
And those would be specific licensee members for the most part.
We are still lacking. We have 2 public members, and we have an esthetician, a manicurist, and an electrologist that need to be appointed. Yes.
Right.
Thank you, Christy. That was a lot to go through, but it was very informative. At this point, let's listen to public comment. Is there any public comment on the executive officer's report?
Hi, is the mic on?
Yes.
Wendy Cochran, PSP holder number 1. You have 25% of the PSP holders in this room today. Jamie was almost number 1, but she didn't click the right button, so sorry. Okay, call centers are potentially problematic. We essentially work in a space of a call center now. Folks are getting and having their questions. They call the 800 or 888 number or whatever it is these days. And they ask a squirrely question about some sort of aesthetic thing that no one's heard about, and we usually get a bad answer. And then they come back and they say, I called and they said we could do this. And I'm like, no, this is not what you can do. So, and then we usually have a conversation with somebody backstage. So call centers are very tricky. in the space of aesthetics. They might be a little bit more cut and dried in the other spaces like hair cutting or manicuring. But where we have all sorts of crazy things that we do in aesthetics, it's probably not the easiest for somebody just to pick up the phone and pick up an answer and give it to them properly. With regard to the PSP, if I am to ask my group of estheticians, we're about 7,600 of us now, all licensed and some students. The reluctance for the PSP and doing it is the scope of what we can do. I can go in, I can wash somebody's face, I can put some serums on, maybe a mask, and that's about it. So for me to get in my car and spend $6 a gallon on gas and go to somebody's house and set up and do that and tear down, it's not really appealing. So that may be some of your reluctance for the ones that are on the more compliant side. And I agree, there's a lot of she sheds going in right now and a lot of people working out of their spare bedrooms. So, and to answer your question about insurance, my insurance that covers the PSP is through ASCP. It's $259 a year and a $50 discount if you're a member of my group. So it's not like the insurance is a hard stop to that. It's about $200 a year or $209. So, consumer awareness, I feel that it's going to come from the licensees, and maybe the new PR person can, definitely help in this. But no consumers know what a safe sandal season is, and we've been doing it several years. So when we have the messaging from the more compliant kind of rules nerds like we are in my group, we tell and we teach our customers that you should be able to look over to the side, see their license. You should make sure that there's that blue jar or something, and it comes really from the licensees itself. I think that you have a better shot of making that information going from the perspective of the licensee teaching our clients than we would have, broadcast to 40 million people watching a morning show. So that is something to consider. Go and seek out your really compliant licensees and hope that they can pick up the education and incentivize them to do that. On regard to SB 803 and the cleanup language, we do need to make sure that in the hairstylist only, I do believe I read something in some of the analysis that came from the assembly side that the hairstylists only are not to be doing skincare. And okay. And schools are still doing externships for aesthetics. So, and there's also online programs and academies that are asking licensees to mentor extern people for hours. So they've never gone to a school and they basically are asking these licensees to watch them do facials on Zoom and then they get credit for their school. So that's going on too.
Thank you. All right, are there any other public comments on that topic?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Larry, and I've been working in a school, cosmetology school industry for about 4 to 5 years now. And then I just want to report an issue to the board so that everyone's aware of. As you
can I interrupt you really quick? We're taking public comments on the executive officer's report. Does this relate to her report?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
It was about the license.
Okay, great, perfect.
I'm sorry, so that's
Sorry,
why
that's
I
okay. Thank you.
The page. It
Perfect.
was on the.
But if it's not a
Page
specific
4.
case, right? You're not
Yeah,
gonna-
it's not a
Great,
specific case.
perfect.
It's on page 4,
Okay.
and then we can see the reading exam result out of the country. You can see it's compared to other in-state apprenticeship or school program. It's very, very low. And then I kind of have an idea of what's going on with that because other country student applicants, for certain countries, they don't really have the law and regulations that are same as the United States or California. And then most of them, they don't have a board like US to supervise everyone. If what's teaching, what they're learning, what's they're receiving. So for that, there are a lot of certificates, diplomas are not actually real in this matter. So that's why they're not getting the education they deserve outside the country, or they don't have the knowledge they need to know to be working, to providing services inside of California state. That's why their passing rate is super low compared to other programs. That's why I wanted to inform the board. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
And if that's it, let me say a word to the board. I'm guesstimating that we probably have about 45 minutes left and work. We have three options. We can power through it. It's been like 3 hours and change now. We can power through it. We can take a short break, or we could take a lunch. Huh? What's the consensus of the board? What do you?
I think there are a lot of people that have flights to catch, and I'm worried about them being late.
You okay just powering through? Then I guess it's about 45 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, we all have like 4 o'clock flights. So.
Yeah, okay, then we'll just keep powering through. Okay, that being the case, let's move to the Legislative and Budget Committee meeting. And Reese, you were chairman of that meeting, and there were several areas that you proposed action on. So tell us what happened at that meeting.
Hi, thank you. Yes, we had our first meeting of this calendar year for the Legislative and Budget Committee. This was almost 2 months ago, so it has been a while, and as you know, legislation changes sometimes quite rapidly at the state capitol. So we did make recommendations on these bills at that time on March 7th, but some of the information may have changed, and I think Executive Officer will lead us through that here in just a minute. We do have our next scheduled meeting in a few weeks on May 20th, and we have another one in June, so we can stay on top of these. So.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take you through each of the bills.
Thank you.
And with that, the board will be able to decide on a position. So first bill up is AB 646. This bill is based on posting of expunged convictions. This is a department-wide bill. We don't feel that there would be any impact to us. The committee recommended a support position on this bill. And the analysis of what this bill does, and the actual bill language is attached.
So do we have a motion on AB 604, our position?
Mm-hmm.
646. Yes. Yes.
I move it.
646. I would second that motion.
All right, in that case, let's listen to is there any public comment on our position on this bill? And there being none, we'll go back to a roll call. So Marcine, if you want to give a roll call to the board.
Great. Steve Weeks?
Support.
Say yes.
Right, yes, okay.
The motion is
Yes.
to support the bill.
Yes.
So yes.
Support.
So yes.
Steve Weeks is yes.
Yeah. Tentative support.
Callaway Pham?
Yes.
Jackie Crabtree?
Yes.
Megan Ellis?
Yes.
Tanya Fairley?
Yes.
Reese Isbell?
Yes.
Yolanda Menace?
Yes.
And Derek Matos?
Yes.
We officially support.
All right, moving to the next bill. The next bill is AB 1601. This bill is currently sitting on the suspense file. This bill is requiring for boards to have basically an individual from an underrepresented community as defined, and the committee, board member from an underrepresented community be on our board. And the committee made a motion to watch this bill. I think that position still stands today as a good position.
And do we have a motion?
I move to watch.
Seconded.
All right. Is there any public comment on AB 1604?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to know whether we needed a motion just to watch. Sabina, can we have clarification? Okay.
We don't.
You can, you're always welcome to do one if you'd like.
Oh.
Be extra thorough, but the board staff will continue to watch any applicable bills.
Okay. Okay. In that case, let's move on to AB 1661.
All right, AB 1661 is a bill that would require us to share information with our licensees about being trafficked. This is information that you might see in other areas like airports, information for trafficking, and this bill would require that notice to be posted in hair and nail electrolysis, skincare, all of our licensees. Our committee took a support position on this bill.
All right, so now we would need a motion.
I move to support.
And a second.
I would.
Is there any public comment on AB 1661?
Oh no, I was seconding, so I think Derek beat me to it.
Hi, California Aesthetic Alliance, Wendy Cochran. We've had a lot of discussion in our group about this. We all, mostly as estheticians, work in a solo environment, and we would have 57 sheets of paper tacked up to the wall in a very small 9 by 10, 8 by 10 room. If there is some sort of allowance that we don't know how many people are actually going to post these up on their rooms, to be very honest. It does kind of pigeonhole us and kind of implicates, some people have concerns that this implicates that, our industry is filled with people that are either being trafficked or are trafficking, or we see a lot of trafficking. I have concerns that this is not all inclusive to the environment of people that are being trafficked, because if you look at this bill, it's not being required to be posted in any sort of tattoo shops. So one of the things that you look for with somebody that is being trafficked is for the pimp's name to be tattooed on the individual. And this bill does not cover that. So why are we calling out people in the beauty industry when it does not cover the tattoo industry as well? So that would be my big concern about this, that it is just kind of calling us out as an individual type of business that we would see this a lot in, but it really excludes one of the largest industries that we see a lot of this in. So from a trafficking perspective as an advocate in that space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, board members. Fred Jones on behalf of the Professional Beauty Federation of California. We echo Wendy's concerns. What about massage parlors? If you're looking at really going after human trafficking, this singles out our industry. But just from a practical vantage point, it's another $500 or second offense $1,000 fine that the vast majority of our 500,000 plus licensees won't know. They'll be ignorantly fined for not posting something they'll never hear about. So while the intent behind this bill is unassailable, we do not oppose the intent. The practical effect is just another fine that's going to be leveled on ignorant salon owners that just don't know about this 57th posting, to use Wendy's number. Thank you.
Ideas or concerns about that, would that need to be more directed towards the author?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure, I'm guessing people have already reached out to the author's office on some of these concerns. Yeah.
But we could use your help. Are we able to do much with the author?
You could, so there's position options at the bottom of that memo. You could always ask support if amended or neutral. Any of these are options here. You can direct staff, if you choose one of these positions, you can direct staff in your letter to say, hey, or what about this? You know, why not this group included also, or? But currently we have a motion on the,
We
we
have a
currently, we have to
motion,
deal with
a
that
support
first and then, and then.
I second it.
We have,
Marcy will call the roll.
we already had that.
We can make a motion to amend it.
Well, anybody who made the motion can amend the motion if you like, or we can go through the vote and then go back again and if there's a new motion.
I made the motion and I don't amend at this time.
Okay. Please.
Take the roll.
Yes.
All right, Steve Weeks,
I think I would vote support if amended. Ask more questions and get it better.
So is your vote would be no?
Derek Matos,
No.
Kelly Pham,
Yes.
Jackie Crabtree,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Tanya Fairley,
No.
Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Yolanda Jimenez. I think if it was amended. So no.
So that's a tie.
Wonderful.
We need that.
Try again.
We need some new, we gotta make it
I
get
know.
an odd number.
I've heard it before.
So the motion does not pass.
Correct. We can have a new motion from anybody.
Could the motion be to watch, which would,
We wouldn't have a motion. You can watch it.
just to get past the tie.
You can support if amended, have more of a positive than a negative kind of flavor to it.
So just so you know, when you make a position on a bill, and the way I interpret my board's position is that you're telling me to take some action with the author's office. So if you are going to oppose unless amended, you're telling me, go get in there and oppose this bill unless.
Support if amended.
And I'm like, we really like your bill. Could you do this?
So I motion, support if amended.
Second.
We want Christie to go in and fight for this bill change.
We'll also need to know what you would like the amendments to be. In general, if you want it to reflect the comments that you've heard today, then that's absolutely something staff can notate and put into that motion.
So how do I start this off?
So your motion would be to support 1661 if amended to reflect the concerns that we've heard today.
My motion would be to support if amended.
And you can just say so moved.
1661 to support the words that we heard today.
To reflect the concerns you
The
heard today.
concerns we heard today.
You're also welcome to say so moved when I say things. Yeah. So you don't have to repeat it.
Seconded.
Second.
Okay, so.
Public comment? Any additional public comment?
You were awesome.
Okay.
Now
you take your vote.
Okay. And this is for the support if amended, to reflect the comments heard today. Derek Matos,
Support, yes.
Steve Weeks,
Support, yes, too.
Kelly Pham,
Yes.
Jackie Crabtree,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Tanya Fairley,
Yes.
Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Yolanda Jimenez.
Yes.
So we're unanimous on support if amended.
Yes.
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 So you support?
Yes.
Support if amended?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's-
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to AB 1733.
Okay, our next bill, AB 1733, is a very important bill. This is the bill that has been introduced that would allow us to hold a teleconference meeting in lieu of an in-person meeting. It would be our choice, but what the difference in this is it's changing the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, because right now, if we had to do a teleconference meeting, maybe we needed to have an emergency, sudden meeting for some legislation, and you all wanted to do it from home, we would have to post your home addresses. Believe it or not, people have done, and we don't want you to do that. Or you'd have to go to a public place, but if something were to happen with that public place, we have to cancel the meeting. So this would allow us to do this option that we've done for COVID. It has been very successful. I prefer in-person meetings, but you can't deny that we've saved a lot of money, that we've got a lot of public participation. So it is a very good bill. It's a bill that's gone to the entire department, that's moving through the process right now. And I can tell you, if the board chooses to support this bill, I will be actively engaging to make sure our support is known.
And a motion?
I move to support.
Second.
I just had
Derek has a question.
I just had a quick question in regards to that. So the motion is to support with the change of not posting.
That's what the bill does.
Right.
The
Okay.
bill makes it so it doesn't vote.
To remove it.
Right.
I just wanted to clarify. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie.
All right.
Motion in a second.
Motion,
right.
we've had a motion, we've had a second, so
public
now
comment.
we're ready to vote.
Public comment?
Public comment, yeah.
Yeah. No.
And it doesn't appear to be any public comments, and now we'll go to the vote.
Okay, Steve Davis,
Support.
Calamy Pham,
Yes.
Jackie Crabtree,
Yes.
Derek Matos,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Tanya Fairley,
Yes.
Reese Disbell,
Yes.
Rolanda Jimenez.
Yes.
That's all yeses. And just, I didn't mention, but our committee did also make that recommendation. Forgot it. It became my own recommendation for a second. I apologize for that. Our next, and I believe this is our last bill, is AB 2196. The committee took a watch position on this bill. However, since the committee took a position on this bill, it has drastically changed. When this bill went to the committee, it was basically increasing the hours of education for a Cosmo license only from 1,000 to 1,200. That has now been removed, and now it is a bill that contains some of our cleanup language. I did work with the Assembly B&P committee on this language, as well as the original sponsors of this bill, we have a little more cleanup language that we would like done, but as the bill stands today, it is the board's cleanup language that I would recommend we support.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
A motion,
Aye.
support?
Second.
Oh, can I have a question? Christy, do we want our additional language in there? So would we support if it was amended further to include more of our language, or?
Agreed.
Sabina, would we need to name that specific language?
Not today, the actual words, but if there's a specific, what is missing?
There's a list of things that we would like to add to the bill.
So if it's cleanup language that's missing, a motion could indicate support if amended to include what staff has
Any
identified
additional- okay.
as missing language. But we currently have another motion on the table.
So do
No.
we withdraw
I
the
will
motion?
draw mine.
Okay, great.
I move as she moved.
I'm moving all over the place. So moved.
Second on that?
And just to clarify, so we're supporting if amended with what was
With the-
mentioned. Okay.
Right.
And I missed the first. Who did,
It was Reese.
Motion by Reese.
I did.
and Steve seconded.
And we have public comment.
Again, Fred Jones on behalf of the Professional Beauty Federation. Something we'd like the board to consider, given that we've really reduced the amount of hours and we've done away with the hands-on practical exam. There's an added opportunity or a perverse incentive to increase fraudulent selling of hours. One of the most closest thing you can get to a silver bullet to stopping this fraudulent selling of hours is for schools to register their students within 30 days of enrollment with the state board as part of the proof of training process. It starts at the front end, and when they finish, they submit the final proof of training. I've made an argument before that I think within your existing code, you could require that now as part of the proof of training verification process. But to be abundantly safe, it would be good to have statutory authorization. The board used to do this 30 plus years ago, all the way back in time. So it's nothing new in that sense. But it's something that I would strongly encourage the board to consider requesting of the legislature. And then this is a little bit more out of left field. Given nobody is certifying their hands-on competencies and that this is a dexterity-based industry, it might behoove us to also put in statute that schools need to certify their hands-on competency if the state board won't. So that's a consideration for the board, possibly for the future, but I would definitely love to see student registration be asked for now in this bill or any bill dealing with our license. Thank you.
And if that's all of the public comment, we will go to the vote.
Steve Weeks,
Support?
Helen Pham,
Yes.
Jackie Crabtree. Yes. Derek Matos,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Tanya Fairley. Yes. Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Yolanda Jimenez.
Yes.
Yes.
Great, so that is supported. Can I just make one note? I'm very concerned that the 1,200 hours were in, then it was taken out. Just to make it very clear, can our board minutes reflect that the board has not changed its position on the 1,000 hours of requirement there?
Is that already in that
I think they took it
bill?
out.
They did take out, just wanted,
It was in the bill, it was in half the bill.
I just want to
Right. And is
clarify
that-
that.
Part of a part of the language that you identified as missing from the bill. That's not cleanup language, right? So we would need something else to be able to include that as something that you would like, because it is rather substantive.
Would that take a motion?
Yes, if you would like to adjust because right now your motion includes a supportive amendment just to include the cleanup language that staff has identified.
Right.
This is rather substantive, so this would be something else to be recommending to be added to a bill.
What's the general thought on board members on this?
Well, we're not trying to add it to the bill, we want to make sure it doesn't get added to the bill.
Exactly.
correct?
We
So
make sure it
at this
doesn't do that.
point, we support the bill with the language that is there, with amendments that we've discussed that were staff mentioned. We have not taken a position on the original issue of the bill because it's no longer in the bill that we just supported.
That is correct.
So I don't see why we need to.
Right, so if you want, so right now you have cleanup language being requested to be put back in. And that's kind of a little bit of non-substantive stuff, just to make sure everything is in line and nothing duplicative, or make sure everything aligns with the new bills.
If just like with any legislation, if it was changed substantively, our position may need to change.
Correct.
And that's why we need to have our meetings regularly so that we can prepare for that, should that happen. But there's always the possibility that any of the bills we support or oppose could be gotten amended and just put anything in there. So I don't think we need to say it quite specifically, other than understand that that's the legislative process.
Right, and should it be amended later, the board will bring it back to you.
Correct. Then the discussion we have just right now is automatically part of the minutes of this.
Of the meeting, yes, however, your motion still stands with the non-substantive, the cleanup language being requested to be put into the bill.
Right, and
Yes.
that's fine.
Absolutely.
But this
But we're
would be
support-
automatically noted in the notes, so people could come and see our position
Absolutely.
on this. Okay, that's all I wanted, yeah, that'd be great. Did we vote? Okay, okay. We're moving ahead then, we're moving ahead. Thank you for your meeting, thank you for getting together and giving us this input on that. That's, as you can see, there's some pretty critical information on that. Tanya, Education and Outreach Committee meeting.
Yes, the committee, we did meet on March 27th, 2022, And I'm going to refer back to Christy so that she can update you on everything.
Thank you. So there's no action needed from the board today on the outreach committee. As Tanya mentioned, we had our meeting. We did include, just for your information, an outreach report that we provided to the committee. We thought it looked really pretty. We wanted to share that information with all the board members. And that committee is going to continue to meet. At our next meeting, we're going to start looking at the materials that are sent out with establishment licenses and handing out during inspections and citations so that the committee sees what we give out and we can look to make any recommendations. And actually, we hope we have more information for consumers at our next committee as well. That's it.
And I have notated, Derek, the issue of rehab and really giving the licensees who have gone through this process, so we can bring that up in the next meeting.
All right, that being the case, let's move to item 9. Jackie, the Health and Safety Advisory Committee meeting.
Yes, we had a committee meeting. We have another one coming up on June 6th. We're just right now going through fines. Lots of things are going to change with fines, so Christy, tell them about it.
Sure. So the committee did approve an update to health and safety regulations. But before we bring those to the board, we have to go through those with our legal counsel in our reg unit. So that's a very big package. You probably won't see that till October because we have other regulations in the midst that are probably going to take place before that. In SB 803, as we mentioned earlier, we have to look at the fine schedule and how it relates directly to consumer harm. So the committee started to review that. We got about halfway through the risk report that staff provided at the committee, and we'll continue to look at that and eventually make a recommendation to the board.
Okay, good. In that case, let's move to item 10. Christy, the updates regarding the rulemaking.
Okay, on our rulemaking, we have, let's see, I had a change to our agenda packet. For our instructional materials, that regulation package made it to the Office of Administrative Law, which was super exciting. However, OAL found some concerns, so we've actually withdrawn that, and we are proposing the changes that they have recommended. We do not need a motion, but we are going to be bringing that back at the next board meeting. So you'll see, I always tell people at the beginning of regulations that you'll see them many times. This is a regulation package that has been going on for quite some time. And just with all the changes that have happened, it's coming back to us again. So we'll have to do a 15-day comment period to make those changes, but you'll see that at the next board meeting. As for that, the following packages are currently on hold. We're waiting for that legislative cleanup language, the extern, so that we can include barbers in that. And then also our disciplinary review committee, we're looking for some cleanup language pertaining to the committee and pertaining to the per diem of those committee members. And then the following regulation packages that are under internal review with DCA, this is with our other legal counsel that we're working with quite extensively on. We have our SB 803 cleanup language that the board has approved. Now we're working with legal counsel to finalize those regulations. The apprenticeship regulations that we've mentioned, we are working with them, the transfer of credit, as well as our disciplinary guidelines. So those are all in the process. We are working with DCA reg unit on updating those. And that's it.
Any board member comments on that? All right, in that case, let's go to item number 11, which would be public comment on items that are not on our agenda today. And we got no one appearing for that, which is good. Given the hour today. The suggestions for future agenda items from board members. If you have any input on that, gladly hear.
I do.
You do. Okay.
that we do discuss educational offerings or continuing educational offerings for licensees who are seeking to have their license either reinstated or a probationary period. Yes, I know we're gonna probably go over this in the education committee too, but it would be good to have the board also have some viable input on a strategy and a outline for that.
So just so I'm clear,
Yes.
are we talking remedial education for when someone receives disciplinary action?
Yes.
Yes, specific though. I think that what she read in regards to the initial letter that's sent out, more direct. Guys, see you, Sabina. More direct, not direct, but more of a viable timeline that they can complete this. I guess that's what we're talking about.
A little bit more guidance for people
Yes.
who would like to petition for reinstatement or even perhaps get off probation early. We were possibility of like what kind of materials are out there for them to know. Is there, you know,
So providing information to
is
people, not
for example, no,
remedial.
no.
Got it.
Is
No,
there
no.
something, perhaps there could be a frequently asked questions document on your website. Maybe it says, oh, I have a petition hearing coming up. What type of things should I be bringing? Which type of things should I be, gathering? Right. Yeah. Maybe what kind of guidance documents or frequently asked question document perhaps the board could put on the website to help those people?
Well, right now we don't. It's so much. It's so vague, so missing. So if we're going to approve or deny someone their right to either get their license reinstated, but there's provisions in there for them to really follow, knowing that this.
I just want to be clear, it would be a suggestion.
Yes, it would be just a basically
suggestion.
information about on 971 where there's all those rehabilitative evidence, but that's in legal gobbledygook.
And this is a suggestion for the next
Correct.
agenda.
We're not talking about it now. We're just talking about maybe staff, they're go-getters. Maybe they're going to develop something before the next meeting.
Exactly.
And then
Because they're awesome. They're amazing.
You can report on progress in that.
Chrissy's
All right.
right. Another thing right.
Anyone else have any suggestions or comments at this time, board members? Okay, since we're very close to dinner, wait for it. We're adjourned.
Wow.